And so we're rising, brother.
Yeah, I love it. Someone asked, how am I? I'm doing well. I'm really excited about everything we have going on. The mysticarts.org guys. Ishmael and my Starseed Cosmology course. Of course, Ishmael, you're the star of the course. I'm kind of the guy who's putting it all together and showcasing you in this. But yeah, I'm really excited to do this.
Yeah, same here. My whole life I wanted to teach.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a professor at a university level when I was 18 years old. That was my initial, endeavor in life. But just went a different way. But I've always been very academic, very studious, and always investigating and researching, like a professor would, of course.
You know what's funny about this course, Instagram, the kind of way the world is going with spirituality, like its presentation, is you always wanted to be a professor, and I always wanted to be an actor. And somehow through Instagram Lives and the way we're putting together this course, the two kind of work together because there's definitely a performance aspect to all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're just way,
Yeah. So where do we begin today? What do you want to? We don't want to give away too much from the class, but why don't you talk a little bit about the podcast you did today, or some of the things you talked about on there?
Yeah, it was with I'm bad at pronunciations. Her name is spelled Uldous. I think it's Yaldis or Yaldis. I'm not sure. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but she is an activist. She's been involved in the fight for liberation for many years. Huge public figure. And, with all her platforms and everything, I think she's got a little over 10 million followers, or about 10 million followers.
Wow.
So, yeah, she's done a huge dent in the awakening, fighting for the rights of humanity.
Wow.
So, I was so excited to actually do an interview with her because, she's really well informed. She has questions to ask. And so, I think it went really good. We just kind of kept it very, simple. I didn't go too deep because of the fact that her audience isn't too aware of, what's going on beyond the realm, right? Beyond what the media says and stuff. Maybe just a little bit, not to the extent that most of our, followers understand. They haven't, I guess, fallen too deep into the rabbit hole. So I kept it very, 101 disclosure. These are the different types of, and just tying it into the event happening.
I don't know if it's just me. Are you guys? Ishmael, you're freezing a bit on here. It's pretty choppy. I don't know. It could be. I don't know if it's my phone or your phone, but
what about now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay. All I had to do was close the door and get closer to the phone.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, let's go back a little bit to the beginning because I want to save a lot of the Starseed stuff for the course. So, as you guys know, I tagged it down below. themysticarts.org. That is our spiritual school. Me, Ishmael, Nuri, and Sarah. I see Nuri's on here. I think everybody's on here. So we're going to start with Starseed Cosmology. That course starts 1 week to the day. That is next Wednesday. Ishmael and I are teaching it. And then we have Elemental Magic, Astrology, Clairvoyance, Tarot. It's just going to go on from there, guys. So, feel free. Come join us. Come sign up. But yeah, Ishmael, I want to go back to the beginning a little bit with your Starseed journey. So tell us again, I know you've talked about this on a lot of lives, but tell us a different angle of it for how it all began for you, something that you haven't talked about before in other lives.
I think I kind of trajectory path. I don't know if people know, but my really question
is an audio.
Yeah, can you hear me?
It's choppy.
Choppy. Okay. Yeah. Let me go get my headpiece.
All right, guys. Well, yeah, he's choppy. So just me. My spiritual journey, very different than everyone else's. Well, everybody's is very original, but mine was fraught with conflict. I'm probably one of the only people in this world who was raised in the occult. My mom is white light, coven witch. She would teach, basically like seances and Wiccan seminars at our house that involved tarot, cosmology, and Kabbalah. So that was kind of my background growing up. Keep up the handsome look, Taylor. See it? Yeah, notice how Leo, I'm like just talking, and then I see a compliment, and I zone right in on that. So, yeah, a lot of people I meet in this in the spiritual community were raised oftentimes from a very religious upbringing, and they found spirituality through trying to find their own meaning in this world, coming from like kind of a theological background. But I was very much surrounded by the occult since I was a kid, and also felt like that was something I didn't fully identify with until later in life when I started to understand it more. So, Ismael, just talking a little bit about my backstory, but I see that you're, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. What about yourself? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
All right. So a big catalyst in my life that I've never shared with anyone is my mother's death at the age of 16. Because my mother, out of everyone in my family, was the only one that was in tune with the spirit. She was very spiritual. She was actually a psychic. She was a medium. She had the gift of prophecy. And I think that's where I inherited most of her gifts, was through her. Able to tap into the spirit realm and see things on an intuitive level. And she would always tell me things like, Ishmael, you're different, you're special. When you were conceived, you were the forces of good, the angels, were there when you were conceived, and they were all there in attendance, making sure that your coming into this world was protected. And so she used to tell me things like that. She had a dream once when I guess I was in her womb in the dream, and she said that she was on a boat and Jesus was walking on the water and came to her and put his hand on her stomach, me being inside, and she told him, your child is going to be involved in a future war against evil, and he's going to be involved in helping to bring in a better world, and he's a saint. So my mother used to tell me that I was a saint. I didn't really know what that meant back then, but she left me with some really good. She planted some really good seeds at an early age. Encouraged me to talk to my spirit guides and tell me, or my imaginary friends, I guess as a kid, right? And she would tell me that they were my spirit guides. And so that's one of the reasons why I was always very, in tune with the spirit. But my grandmother, on the other hand, she's the one who forced me to suppress these abilities because she was like very religious. And so, there was that conflict there between my mother and my grandmother. So when my mother passed away, I really had no one else to, resonate with when it came to this sort of stuff and understanding. And so I suppressed my my intuition and my abilities by replacing it with liquor. I started drinking a lot. So I used to be an alcoholic. I went through that period where I was drinking a lot. From the moment I got up to the time I went to bed, I was just drunk the whole time. And I didn't become sober till I was like maybe 19, 20 years old, and that's when I went into a rehab and started cleaning up my act and stuff. But for 5 years straight, no kidding, I was really doing damaging my organs in my body, doing a huge number. But I would say that everything happens for a reason, because sometimes things like that need to happen in life in order to allow you to become who you are nowadays. Never have research if it wasn't for all the darkness and all the suffering that I went through as a teenager. All that suffering and all that stuff just brought me back to really wanting to get connected once again and allowing my gifts to come out eventually.
Yeah. So. Oh, that's amazing. Hey, Nuri, if you're out there, tell Bianca I'll call her back. She keeps calling, but we have, it's going to interrupt the live. That story is fascinating because, once again, a lot of similarities. We also have a lot of light and dark polarity between us, because you were conceived in a saintly way, blessed by the angels and all that. I was conceived on Halloween night when my mom was on contraceptives. So yeah, she told me that later, that it was Halloween night, and it was very accidental. And I've always felt that energy in my being, in my essence too. And it's also interesting because I'm a Scorpio moon, so there's just that kind of dark streak that has always run through me, that aesthetically, spiritually, emotionally, all of it. It's kind of my psychic channel that I use. for my home work and all that. Obviously not black magic or anything like that. I really don't believe in any of that at all. But, just an intense brooding undercurrent that comes from a Scorpio moon and a Halloween conception, but the addiction, the drugs, alcohol, that stuff, that's very much a part of who I am. And, I talk about that too from my background.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, starseeds and people that are very spiritually powerful go through moments like that in their life, especially at a younger age.
Yeah,
because it's like we're trying to fit in. We're trying to just adapt, and it's so hard. It seems like the world is against us because we're so different. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this Starseed Cosmology course. Yeah, because there's a lot of starseeds out there that have undergone the same experiences that we have. Yeah. And so it's about bringing each other together and showing support that we're all in this together, and that we're not alone. Yeah, there's like millions of us.
I know. Did you ever do psychedelics? I don't know if you want to talk about it on the live. I don't care at all. I'm very open. Yeah. I did psychedelics a lot in high school, and that opened a lot of gateways. And how about you?
I have. I tried LSD twice my whole life, and then I think the second time I took one too many tabs, and I ended up ODing. I was 18 years old, and they rushed me to the emergency room, and I actually died for a few minutes. I was there hovering over my body, just looking at the doctors, using the shocks to kind of bring me back, just trying to jumpstart my heart. And I was just watching that, and I was like, whoa! I'm in spirit form. It almost felt like that scene in Doctor Strange where he leaves his body and he's astral traveling. And I was like, all right. And then I was like, so what do I do now? They're trying to bring me back. It looks like I'm dead because on the thing it was like dee. And something said, "Oh, Ishmael, if you only knew, you got to go back. You're too important to this plan." So I went back to my body, and all of a sudden, I just heard a deet, 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 and I was like, "Oh, yes, we brought him back." That's all I heard, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm back in my body." That was kind of cool.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So I've had that experience. Actually, I've died a couple times. Another time that I died was in a horrible car accident at the age of 25. It was bad. I was on life support for like 2 weeks, and they weren't sure if I was coming back. And so, I'm not meant to die. I'm meant to fulfill my mission, and that's why they keep, making sure that I keep coming back, that I don't leave.
What happened in the car accident? Were you driving, or were you a passenger, or what was the story?
I was under the influence of alcohol. I had a relapse. I dealt with alcoholism my whole life, but I haven't had a drink since then. I think that was like a rock bottom for me. I was waking up 2 weeks later on life support and stuff, and with broken clavicle bone, collapsed lungs, and what is it called? Broken little ribs here and there, and just my ankle was bruised, or really bruised to the point where I couldn't. My whole life was, I was going to die. They were keeping me alive through life support, and then finally my body just started regenerating, and the life force just came back in me, and then I just started, waking up after 2 weeks, and the doctor said, "Oh wow, you're a miracle. Nobody under these circumstances has ever survived the damage that you've been through." That's what the doctor said.
Wow.
So so that's another miracle. And then according to one of my friends who was a medium, she actually had a vision of Michael and Gabriel that came and decided to, bring me back. I guess the archangels intervened during that second time that I died, and they're like, "Okay, no, we need to bring him back."
Wow.
He's not done yet. He's got to write these books.
Yeah, right. He's got to start the mystic arts. He's got to start the cosmology.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, Michael and Gabriel are no lightweights either, man.
Oh yeah, they are. They actually work with me. I'm very, very close to the archangels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, so I completely relate to that because, my whole spiritual awakening, it came later for me in life. It came after an autoimmune disease where I was also, that was my near-death experience, going to the hospital with bleeding lungs, shortness of breath, and it was after, a month of going through that. It was a misdiagnosed condition, so I was basically just kind of drowning on dry land with my own autoimmune disease, everything. It felt like there was like a mist inside of my lungs that I couldn't breathe through. I imagine it's probably how asthma feels, but it was, it was just internal. There was swelling everywhere in my lungs. Mm-hmm. And then finally, when I went to the hospital, they told me that had I come a few days later, I probably would have just died. It felt what I imagine tuberculosis feels like, or something like that, you know. And it was just that was a transformative experience. And I've talked about this on other lives, but I guess, you know, there's always new people listening. But after that, I systematically lost every single thing I'd ever had in my life. You know, I got divorced. I lost all my money. I moved back home. Even stuff like my motorcycle broke down on I-5 and it seized and was unrecoverable. Like, I was being systematically broken down, you know, down to like the core essence of just like, all I had left is my I didn't even have my health. I just had being alive. And that was like my starting place. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Seems like we have a lot of similarities, brother.
Right.
Yeah, we've both gone through a lot in life. And I'm sure this goes for a lot of other people as well that are, you know, different and special like we are, like the Starseed Nations. I'm sure they all have their own story to share.
Yeah,
I think suffering, you know, I think because of who we are in our mission, I think suffering is a prerequisite in order for us to rise up and become even stronger. You know, that's how we are able to rise, you know.
Yeah.
Every time we get knocked down and we rise, we actually become stronger and stronger. So,
you know, I completely agree too, because I was always fascinated with the occult, having from my background, you know, just always being raised around books on Tarot and Kabbalah and Wicca and things like that. But I never understood it on a personal, emotional, or even spiritual level until I was like 36, 37, going through my autoimmune disease. Because at that point, when you reach those kind of near-death experiences, what you're ultimately looking for is, okay, what is next? What is this all about? What is my divine purpose? Why am I here? And where is this all going? And that kind of got me to look back at my bookshelf of books I'd already read before and enjoyed, or kind of just thought it was cool. It was like interesting stuff. And then I kind of looked at it more from a really theological, philosophical perspective, like, what, you know, like Kabbalah, like Tree of Life, like, okay, what is the essence of life? Where does it begin? What is the process? What are the steps? And where is it going? What is that whole ascension process really about? And is that ascension process finite, or is it eternal? And that was the question that I kept coming back to. Mm-hmm. That was the most interesting question, because I started to realize that this is all an infinite game. That's the term I've been using. It's an infinite game, and it's all about, you know, the soul's growth, the soul's evolution over infinite lifetimes.
Absolutely. And that's also the state of progression of the multiverse or the cosmos. It's
right.
Constantly recreating itself, regenerating itself, and expanding, you know. And in a way, it's like we all contribute to the expansion of the cosmos by our own experience and our own expansion. So it kind of all works in together.
Yeah. Yeah, that multiverse, man, that's we've talked about it before. That gets to be pretty complicated to just to understand it, to comprehend it. You know, I know you talked about there's a certain number, 1,000. What was the number that there is of multiverses?
There's 1,724 versions of ourselves coexisting in alternative universes, each one slightly different than who you are, including the opposite of what you are in this universe. There is an equal and opposite version of you in another universe, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So it's like every possibility, every decision that Taylor could have made exists, as if you made it differently or slightly different, and every probability out there exists.
Man. Well, right now I'm grateful to be in this incarnation and in this dimension, because so far this is a pretty good reality, but it is built on the back of reality that was extremely traumatic and very, very difficult. So I don't know. I talk about this with a lot of Sarah and some other people. We talk about cosmic perspective, because cosmic perspective is all about where are things leading you in the grand scheme of things, not in a day-to-day. Somebody they go through a divorce, they're like, this is the worst experience I've ever had, as the police are going by. I want to commit suicide, or I want to do something awful. I want to go back to drinking and all that. But then you find through, a series of events, 3 years later, you're in the happiest place you've ever been, or a much better place, or whatever. So the cosmic perspective there is that, that was an integral part of your growth and evolution in order to get to this much better place, but at the time you couldn't even see it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think everything in life is designed that way. It's part of our overall growth and expansion. Even the downs as much as the ups.
Right.
How can you know one without the other? It's the principles of contrast that allows us to continue expanding and growing and learning, of course, because everything's based on learning. We're constantly learning, Taylor. There is no such thing as knowing it all, because I could guarantee you that even the most advanced alien races out there don't know it all. The only mind that knows it all is the sum total of the entire cosmos, because it's knowing everything and it's experiencing everything all at once. But other than that infinite intelligence, I guarantee you there is no individual person who knows it all, including myself. I'm like kindergarten compared to some of the knowledge that is truly accessible as we continue expanding in awareness and in consciousness. So
right. Well, and we talk a lot about the reflective aspect of Source Creator, because even the all-knowing cosmic mind still prefers to reincarnate into a certain body, vessel, or being in order to experience itself as a separated essence, instead of being part of the unconscious or collective light, or whatever you want to call it.
And that's exactly what happened. This one cosmic consciousness one day decided to fragmentalize and divide itself into different pieces, and then each piece further divided itself into multiple pieces in order to expand and to learn from each piece. Yeah. So that's exactly how it works. But changing the subject a little bit, a lot of concern is going on right now in the world of in our world regarding what the deep state signed with the WHO, the WHO. A lot of people are concerned about that. And the way I see it is just like the pandemic, everything happens sometimes because it's a catalyst for awakening. It's a catalyst for people to wake up and to realize that, hey, something's going on here. We need to, become aware of things, right? So I think this is the final catalyst. And to be honest with you, Taylor, I don't even believe it's going to go through because of the fact that, we do have the alliance and we do have the white hats. Yeah. And I know you don't like to talk politics, but I just want to assure people that this organization, this UN organization, WHO, will not take over our policy. And in fact, the fact that the deep state just signed our constitution over to them is more of a reason for the white hats to bring them down for treason against the republic. So I think they were just waiting for something stupid that that they were waiting for something dumb to be done by the deep state, and this is their dumbest thing that they ever done, is sign their constitution away to a UN organization. So I think it all happened for a reason. It's people shouldn't buy into this fear porn. I know that there's a lot of information going out there on food shortages and possible I guess natural disasters, but a lot of it has to do with trying to get the collective to think in that negative path so that they could co-create those realities. So, we have the power to actually shape reality and mold reality by not believing in anything, by, believing only in what we want to believe in. So it's whatever the collective believes. If they could get a huge number of people believing in one thing, that's what's going to happen. So right now it's like a battle for our minds. They want to see if people are going to buy into the fear, or if people are going to choose to remain sovereign and not buy into it and continue in their own enlightenment, continue in their own happiness. Because the more people do that, that's the reality that we're going to manifest for the collective.
Yeah.
So things are heading pretty. They're pretty critical right now in the geopolitical scene. So.
Oh, it's insane. The whole institution is falling apart. I mean, they tried to establish the Ministry of Truth, which is probably the most Orwellian thing that the deep state has ever constructed here in America. Mm-hmm. How do these people not understand the irony of creating a government institution that regulates media and free speech called the Ministry of Truth? And that fell apart because the public backlash, rightfully so, was so extreme against that they knew the optics of it would be horrible. And then obviously the COVID mandates were dropped. There's been all kinds of CNN created an app that I think failed within 10 days. It was a $500 million launch. Mm-hmm. There is such a big shift mainstream media is no longer mainstream media. It's just corporate media.
Exactly.
Mainstream media is alternative media.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's heading towards a climax. The more these globalists try to impose these mandates, the more people are waking up. So eventually, it's going to tilt. It's going to climax where the resistance is just going to be worldwide, and then there won't be any other reason but to bring these people down once enough of the majority of the humans wake up.
Yeah.
So that's where it's heading, brother.
It's ironic too that the real power in this kind of wave of the spiritual movement was really kickstarted by the lockdowns. That's what kind of brought us all together on social media.
Absolutely.
And it like galvanized this entire spiritual movement, and that was supposed to be Craig does. CNN Plus took a huge job. Galvanized this whole spiritual movement during a time of like absolute government oppression. So you see the pendulum swinging, to the completely opposite direction, where there is no longer faith in institutions. There's no longer faith in any sort of governmental control, and the whole system just seems so weak, pathetic, and unreliable, and corrupt.
Absolutely, yeah. And the beauty of it all is that more and more people are starting to see that, whereas before people were just, complacent. They were just asleep to the tyranny that's been brewing around them. But everything's a catalyst. This world was never meant to be enslaved. This world was meant to be liberated. So we're heading there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you give a little hint in the starseed cosmology precision of the equinoxes time era that we're reaching. That's really supposed to be the the advent of this new age.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old system is crumbling as more of us wake up.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating time to be alive because again, we're about to transform. Our dormant DNA is getting ready to activate, and I think that's what they've been fearing the most. Because they don't want, metahumans to emerge. They're suppressing the rise of superhumans or godlike, humans with abilities, and they know that that's what is coming, and that's why they're doing everything in their power to keep us suppressed. Yeah. And that's why they're trying to, lie to us about another, whatever monkeypox is, to give us more of that stuff, because they want to keep saturating us with that graphene oxide so they could, eventually take full control of our minds and prevent the DNA from activating.
Right, exactly. The junk DNA is not junk, guys. But it's 94%, right? Not 94% of inactive DNA that is starting to wake up, essentially.
Exactly. Yes, we're only using 4% of our full genetic material.
Yeah.
So the other 96 is like the photon energy that is coming in through our sun. These CMEs is actually communicating with our DNA at the cellular level and giving it new instructions, new codons to formulate, and then new strands are coming online as a result of that. And it's beautiful, man. Pretty soon, a lot of us are going to have these amazing abilities, and when we do, I mean, we're going to be frying all the wicked, right?
Oh my God, man! Yeah, well, we're going to talk in the class. We're going to talk about the 12 strands of starseed DNA.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the future war against AI in the future, of course. Not anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, and how important it is for us to activate the 12 strands of DNA.
Yeah.
And, according to the science of epigenetics, we can actually regulate our genes with our minds. We could communicate with our cells and begin asking it, and for it to start unraveling. Literally, Taylor, we could begin to talk to our junk DNA or dormant DNA. I don't want to call it junk. Let's call it the God DNA, right? Because that's what it is, the God DNA.
There's an upgrade.
So we could talk to it with our minds. The more we talk to our genetics, because they respond. Each cell has its own consciousness at a micro level of reality. So the cells are alive, just like we are. They form communities of cells. They're intelligent, microscopic, versions of you. You're composed out of billions of cells, right?
Yeah.
So, or is it trillions? Yeah, I think it's trillions. You're composed. What makes us is trillions of little us, and each one is also intelligent at a micro level of reality. So imagine if we could communicate with each and every single one of our cells.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's funny because we're all supposed to pretend that as spiritual people, oh yeah, absolutely, I totally believe it, whatever. But the reality is, I'm starting to believe that, and that's me really truly admitting where I'm coming from, because I don't ever like to misrepresent myself. I don't have all the answers. I'm a mind, body, spirit coach. I work in spirituality. I work in healing and all kinds of, ritual magic and stuff like that. But at the same time, some of this shit also impresses me too. When it does come true, I'm like, wow, okay, like the things I'm talking about are actually real. Like, that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely, brother. And another thing I wanted to talk about was another issue that's been, like, I guess, been a huge concern to a lot of people, and that is, Project Blue Beam, or this fake alien invasion that's supposed to be, I guess, done by the shadow government in order to enforce their new world order. Mm-hmm. But the way I see it is, right now, two coexisting timelines are happening. You have the positive sending timeline, where the NWO is finished and they're about to get exposed, and we're about to have first contact with our brethren from the stars, right, Federation, and restore our world back to the galactic community, and bring forth all the med beds and all the healing devices and the interplanetary technology, to end the pharmaceutical cartel, to end the oil petrochemical companies, to end the educational system, the government, and then replace it with one that works for everybody, right? And then on another parallel reality, or an alternative universe, we have the opposite of that. We have the NWO, coming to fruition. We have the enslavement of humanity to the artificial intelligence. So the way I see it is, it's wherever your thoughts are, wherever you're vibrating, that's the timeline you're going to end up. So for those that are vibrating with the ascending positive timeline, that reality is not going to exist. Only the positive one. The restoration, the liberation, the reestablishment of our galactic status. And for those that are vibrating with the fear-mongering, with becoming addicted to, oh God, we're all doomed, that's it. They're just losing hope and faith. Unfortunately, they're going to end up in that alternative timeline, which is a negative timeline, by virtue of their frequency. So the way I see it is that there will be a split between timelines. Right now, they're coexisting, both the positive and the negative. So your vibration and your state of being and your perception will determine in which timeline you end up ultimately. So let's try to make sure that as many souls as possible end up on the positive timeline by sharing this information. So
I feel that, and the hard part. Okay, so that's the easy part conceptually, is that thoughts create reality. Okay, we understand that, but the harder part, guys, you're going to find in every facet of spirituality, the key to truly controlling your thoughts at the deepest inner level is through meditation. And it's a very difficult answer, because I believe that most people, no matter how spiritual you are, have trouble with meditation. It's a difficult, very discipline-based process. You have to train yourself to really go into those states for a long time. Ismael, you want to talk a little bit about it? I know that you do a lot of it.
Yeah, it's probably the reason why I was able to tap into all that information when I wrote Our Cosmic Origin.
Yeah.
I've been a hermit for many, many years. Like I said earlier, before, I didn't get Instagram until maybe it's been 2 years now since I've had Instagram.
Me too.
And before that, I wouldn't go on social media. I just didn't believe in it. I thought social media was lame.
Me too.
Why disconnect people from talking in person to talking through devices and technology? I kind of felt like that was just part of the plan to eventually keep us separated from each other, right? So I never really liked social media. So, I did a lot of research for many years because I decided to shut myself from society. I isolated myself. I became an introvert, and that was fine with me all throughout my 20s and all throughout my 30s. Instead of having a normal life, all I did was research and meditated, and I was committed to, my work. And then the only reason I got social media was because I knew I was going to be publishing a book, and that was the only way to get it out there. So that's why I ended up getting social media. But then I came to realize that this is an amazing opportunity to connect with other like-minded people. So, in a way, it was like a blessing for me to actually get social media, because without social media, I would have never networked or connected with, other starseeds and spiritual or awakened people that were on the same, page as me. And so I took it as an opportunity, and I love it. I think it's connecting the world. It's actually unifying the light workers around the world so that we could, eventually create a vast network of lights and bring forth a better world.
Yeah, that's another parallel between us. I'm the exact same way. I didn't have social media until, just under 2 years ago, when I was doing tarot card readings for clients in person, which is so regional. It had to be somebody in the area. I was in San Francisco. I was in the Bay Area. So it's like all my clients were limited to within 30 miles away from there. away from me. And then as soon as I went on social media, I expanded because a friend of mine told me that, on Instagram, there's a huge spiritual community and that I could get a lot of clients that way. I didn't even know at that time that you could do tarot card readings remotely. I'd never done it before, and it's such a different world I thought the energy was based on, the presence, eye contact, the vibe, like all these things that come when you're working with those subtle energies in person, and then I remember as I transferred over to, to Instagram right when like COVID hit and whatever, it was so bizarre to me that I kind of was able to transition into these intuitive tarot readings without even missing a beat, even though, this person could be in India, in Europe, and, on the East Coast. And it was like, oh my God, this stuff it really does transcend. It's universal,
Hmm. I believe them. I believe that's the way we are. We're actually using what the dark side designed to be a tool against us. We're actually using it against them to connect and to,
Yes.
link up with everyone else. Because what we're doing is we're building an army. Even though we don't really know everyone else, but think about it, everyone is connected to someone. So eventually we're all just going to link up, all the light warriors, Yeah. And when that happens, that's going to be amazing.
Right.
The energy, the synergy of that is going to be powerful. And I think that's when we're going to, set the grid on fire and like fifth dimensional reality, boom, comes on for everybody else.
Yeah. I know. You have some ideas about,
Or that will bring in the solar flash, because it's like we have to meet it halfway. We have to be ready to hold all that energy that is going to be coming when the final release of the sun takes place.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of electricity flowing through our bodies.
Mm. Oh yeah, it's an exciting time for sure. Like I'm incredibly, like, each day I'm very excited to just be in my body, to be part of this work, I'm starting to feel this kind of it's hard to describe almost, because every big heady spiritual concept is hard to articulate because you're dealing with really powerful forces, things that are like multidimensional, astral, cosmic, that are just big concepts. So, but I'm starting to feel, after many years of addiction, depression, anxiety, all of these natural reactions when you know that you're destined for some greater purpose, but you don't know how to activate that. Now I'm finally starting to feel like I'm reaching this point of tranquility, serenity, or surrender, where I actually feel like I have just begun my life path purpose. Like I'm actually in the zone, or somehow the cosmological law of attraction or reception is actually starting to take hold and lead me. It's meeting me halfway. And it's totally transforming my way of thinking, and I'm seeing that my ability to manifest is now firing on all cylinders.
That's beautiful. And the more of us do that, the more others are able to also do that too, because of the fact that we are all connected through this mind hive.
Yeah.
So I suggest that everybody, do their best to attain higher and greater levels of awareness and consciousness.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing is we're undergoing the sovereign internal process. We are becoming sovereign spiritual beings again, where, we recognize ourselves as our own authority, as our own, power, by connecting with our higher self. And that's what's happening. People are undergoing the sovereign integral process.
Yeah.
They're becoming free people by virtue of connecting with their higher self. And, the part of us that is, in essence, immortal, when you think about it,
Oh, yeah.
And we're heading there. Our ancestors were immortal, and we're going to be the first ones to reinstate that when the activations take place. So,
yeah, I feel it. And so one thing, you and I have talked a little bit about this, but I'd like to stress too that, remember guys, this temple, this body we have, this mortal coil, it's not just an inconvenient existence as we await some kind of 5D ascension. To quote Gladiator, what we do in this life echoes for eternity. Like, this is part of the divine process. There are things that we need to experience in 3D reality. There are karmic lessons. There are things that relate to the soul's growth and evolution that are the exact reason why we're here in this vessel and in this avatar. So, yeah, Ismael, I know you have a lot to say about that.
Absolutely. This is actually the final avatar that was made for us that's going to become immortalized, because the whole process of ascension is to integrate spirit and matter. It's to unite the higher dimensions with the lower dimensions, as I describe in my book.
Yeah.
Ascension is not leaving the body and becoming this vaporous spirit. It's immortalizing, it's spiritualizing and electrifying your body in order to make it immortal. That's what ascension is integrating all your other aspects of yourself, like your subtle body, your etheric body, your astral body, your spirit body, your order self body. When you bring all these bodies into alignment with your physical body, that's when you're able to access all your, multidimensional selves. And when you do that, then you become all-knowing. It's like you're connected directly with infinite intelligence.
Yeah.
Once you're able to do that. And that's the reason why, in the past, many wizards, alchemists, or the gods of mythology were able to do the things that they did. It was because they were actually already, operating at a multi-dimensional level of reality. They were using their light body, the Merkaba. And so, that's the true secret of our power, is activating our Merkaba in our light body. Because when we do that, then we're operating on all these different dimensions, kind of like a quantum computer. We become like a quantum computer.
Yeah.
And we're constantly regenerating ourselves by being connected to these subtle energetic vehicles. We're actually, making our body more youthful, regenerating, and the more we do that, eventually we become immortalized. And every cell becomes spiritualized. It becomes an eternal, it becomes immortalized, in other words.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's really interesting because you start to realize that these this mythological existence, it's not just a metaphor, it's actually real. Like, we are living in this kind of Joseph Campbell hero's journey like existence, and we have a lot of physical capacity, capability to transmute, to make major changes, to learn, to grow, and to influence this life. We also have that intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally. So, and that really comes down to like chakra alignment too, is kind of one of the keys to really getting in touch with our divinity from the base levels to the higher levels. And I'm seeing what I've been talking about with my practice is mind, body, spirit alignment, which very much relates to chakra alignment, and also just having this kind of holistic outlook on what our purpose is, how we activate ourselves, and how we can develop each different facet of who we are. So for me, I need to work out as much as I need to read, as much as I need to meditate. It is a holistic experience. I can't do one without the other.
Absolutely. We're a spirit, mind, body complex. We're not just bodies or minds. and really, that's the true path of a mystic / warrior, A true mystic / warrior will always find time to meditate, will always find time to exercise or work out, and will always find time to, research things, investigate things, and critical think. Yeah. And once you're doing all that, you're in balance. You're on it. You're becoming a sovereign individual. Yeah. Where you realize that you are the God source embodiment. The power is within. All you have to do is tap into it.
Yeah. Oh, I 100% agree. A while back, somebody asked what class we were talking about. We're talking about starseed cosmology, and the link is down below. I pinned it. It's the mysticarts.org. mysticarts.org. You guys can sign up for it. It starts next Wednesday. The class came together, as many of you know. Ismael does a ton of these lives on starseed cosmology, and I've watched a lot of them, and I thought they're fantastic. And I teach courses in tarot and astrology and magic, and then we put this together because I knew that you and I just had to collaborate on this with my kind of format and structure and whatever, and your kind of encyclopedic knowledge of star seeds and quantum physics and the entire mythology and origin of the galaxy and the human race and all that. It's so fascinating that it was just a really kind of seamless partnership that we created.
Yeah, in this class we're going to go in depth. What are the qualities of a starseed? What makes a starseed? What is the mission of a starseed? The different types of starseeds, the different types of population, advanced civilizations, how to connect with your galactic origins as a starseed, and most importantly, how to activate your multidimensional self so that you can become your galactic self, your overself, your Christ self, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. While embodying here in the physical form. Mm-hmm. And much more, of course. I go over the different dimensions. I go over every chakra. I explain ascension. I explained the different, what is known as the position of the equinoxes in terms of stellar activation cycles and where we're at and how that relates to the original prophecies. And then most importantly, you get to ask me questions, interact with me on a one-on-one where I'm answering every question. Because, a lot of the times it's hard for me to get back to everyone. A lot of people have questions for me from all over the world, and I could only, I only have certain time throughout the day to get back to people, and sometimes I don't even get back to people until days later, just because I have so much going. But I guess, it's I understand, a lot of people have questions about all kinds of stuff. So in this course, I'm going to be able to answer all your questions and give you in-depth knowledge of the galactic scenario and, your multi-dimensional reality.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. Yeah, we're being asked about the soul star and the earth chakras. We will talk about the 12 chakras, the 5 beyond just the original 7. This class, it's going to be great, guys. It's 3 Wednesdays in a row. This Wednesday coming up June 1st, June 8th, and June 15th, I believe. I really enjoyed putting this class together. I read your book twice in a row and then went over like a series of questions with you to kind of structure it all, and I got kind of a front row seat into your mind on this subject, and it's very impressive. Like you're very consistent, very thorough with your answers. I have a lot of faith and confidence in the whole Starseed channeling that you do. It's really exciting, and I'm happy that we can present this to people in kind of a private, more exclusive way too, where they can really have one-on-one access to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So they're asking, will replays be available? So I think we are going to record it this time, but generally, guys, I don't like to record classes, okay? I think there is a certain vibe that comes when you attend it live, and I also always post my classes on YouTube and say, right away when you tell people you're going to record a class, all of a sudden the attendance just drops. Like people don't show up to I just get the recording. And then I post it on YouTube and say 10 people didn't show up and I see only 5 people watch the class. I'm like, okay, they're not showing up and they're not watching it. Just come, just be there. Talk to Ismael in real time. It's all Zoom based. And if the class is popular enough, we'll add, possibly a weekend day or alternative hours. But trust me, there's something special about being there in real time that you just don't get when you're, going on a walk later, listening to the recording on some other day. So I'm going to really encourage everyone. We will record it, but don't rely on the recording. Try to be there. We also want to meet you guys. We want this to be a collective effort. All, Starseeds Unite, or just anybody in the spiritual community or people that are interested. Come unite. Be with us. Share the space with us.
Yeah, it's going to be very enlightening and very activating.
Yeah.
Should we answer some questions? I think we have a few minutes left.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We have 3 in the question box here, and then if anybody just wants to throw them in the comments, I prefer that way. Earlier, did you make a comment saying Trump? I'll just read the 3 questions. Did you make a comment saying Trump is a white hat? Do you know anything about Australia? Is your course open to international students too? Well, I can answer that one. Yes, the course is for everybody. It's Zoom. It's 5 p.m. on Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time. So however that translates, on the website it just translates the times on its own. So if you're in Australia, Europe, Africa, it'll just translate the time. But it's next Wednesday at 5 p.m. So Ismael, Trump, white hats, in Australia. It's all you, man.
Yeah, Australia. That's another country that is a deep cabal-run state. Secondary to the Ukraine. So, yeah, Australia is definitely getting the shed end of these globalist atrocities. But at the same time, again, it's acting as a catalyst. The Earth Alliance.
Chẳng thể quên khi cơn mưa đêm lại về. Em đã quên lời thề và ta như đông chìm sâu. Không còn mơ em anh nhạt màu. Em chỉ cần mơ đâu em bay. Chỉ còn là những cơn mưa vô giá. Cho bên mơ em không mơ anh. Anh một đêm mơ chỉ cho bên em không được còn nhớ. Và chỉ có em không còn nhớ. Và người ta bên nhau như ngã tớ. Muốn nhớ về say em chỉ có mấy em ở đây. Và anh như muốn chết đi nhưng không muốn em mơ mày. Tình yêu làm cho ta đau đầu. Không em như nằm mơ màu. Anh như đang mong cầu. Và mưa bên em u sầu. Chắc có mà mai em mơ. Chỉ có bên em nhưng là khó mơ. Mà đang dài em muốn bên ai. Anh không mong gì hơn. Chỉ mong em sẽ ở đây ôm anh thật gần. Anh chỉ mong đôi ta được có nhau. Mà đừng biết đâu anh có em. Muốn ở bên anh có em. Ta sẽ trao nhau môi hôn thật sâu. Ôm anh.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away. Cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose